Welcome to SciFi Humanity. Today, we're diving into a question that's been on the minds of many across the galaxy. Why are humans so afraid of war? What drives a species to be so terrified of conflict? And what does this fear reveal about their true nature? Join us as we unravel the complexities of human psychology, exploring why their dread of war runs deeper than any might expect. Is it fear of destruction, or is there something far more profound lurking beneath the surface? Stay with us to uncover the surprising truths about humanity's fear and discover why some races find humans both fascinating and terrifying. Let's dive in. Galactic leaned back in his favorite chair, feeling a little pop as he settled in. This spot in the bar was perfect for him. He had a great view of all the different races coming and going. Sometimes people even asked for his advice. With his extensive experience, he knew a lot about this sector. Rumor had it he'd been to nearly every system and most of the inhabited planets in his 170 galactic years. Though he was now more interested in stories than adventures, having retired to this station orbiting the planet Myasma, he was still intrigued when a tall, reptilian-like alien approached him. The alien was striking, about 2.12 meters tall, with 4 strong arms and a bipedal stance. Its torso was covered in tough, leather-like plates, and its triangular head had 6 eyes, a pair of nostrils, and a wide mouth filled with small, sharp teeth. 8 pronounced fangs, 4 on top and 4 on the bottom, completed its intimidating appearance. The creature wore only boots, pants, and a utility harness. "You are Galactic of the Pharaoh," the alien said directly. Galactic looked up at the tall figure and replied, "I am, and you are?" "I am Buhazam of the Kudra," the alien answered. "Ah, the Kodriks," Galactic recalled, piecing together what he knew. They were a warlike race from near the Rim, known for their rare appearances outside their heavy armor and helmets. They first appeared in the sector about 20 years ago, raiding outer worlds, and 5 years later, they had pushed the Phyteria aside to claim a foothold. Without waiting for an invitation, Buhazam sat down next to Galactic. "I hear you know a lot about this sector," Buhazam said, getting straight to the point. Galactic considered this before responding, "I do indeed." "Good. You'll be coming with me," Buhazam declared. Galactic was surprised. "Why would I do that?" "To meet my superiors. You'll be well compensated," Buhazam replied. The mention of payment made Galactic pause. "Well, that changes things," he thought to himself. "And how far will I have to go?" Galactic asked. Buhazam responded promptly. "Compartment 10, Level 1. They were at the station, in one of the luxurious first-class quarters. "Interesting," Galactic thought before adding, "Lead on." It took about 10 minutes to reach the compartment. When the door opened, Galactic was surprised by the number of Kodriks inside, about 11 in total. After a quick assessment, he realized that 6 of them were guards. Unlike Buhazam, these guards wore various cloaks and garments that hid their bodies. It dawned on Galactic that these Kodriks, rarely seen without their heavy armor and helmets, were essentially in disguise and could move about unnoticed. He began to wonder how many Kodriks were blending in across the sector. Buhazam stepped forward and bowed. "This is Galactic of Thoro, as ordered, Your Majesty." He moved aside so that the others could see Galactic. The mention of royalty took Galactic by surprise, but he quickly composed himself. He gave a respectful bow and said, "Your Majesty," before adding, "I apologize, but I do not know Ho." The richly dressed Kodrik stepped forward. "I am Inubasa, bestest Empress Ship 2, second wife of Emperor Anunnaki." She introduced herself with a sweeping gesture towards the Empress. Galactic turned to the Empress and bowed deeply. "My apologies, Your Majesty, for not recognizing you." The Empress gave a gracious nod. Galactic couldn't tell the difference between male and female Kodriks. Were they all female? He wondered. Another Kodrik stepped forward. "Grand Stratego, Inshad Kushana," the Grand Stratego said, pressing a button on the console. A map of the sector appeared, showing political boundaries. "We are planning a new campaign and need information about potential opponents, their military capabilities, allies, and key worlds," she explained. Galactic was taken aback. Without thinking, he said, I can't help you with that. I can't assist in the destruction of countless sentience. Empress Ship 2 nodded to Inubasa, who then stepped forward. The Empress understands your hesitation and offers compensation of 2 million galactic credits. Gazalek almost stumbled in shock. That amount was enough to buy his own station, perhaps not a large one, but still impressive. After wrestling with his conscience, he reluctantly agreed. The Empress nodded in satisfaction. Grand Stratego and Shag Kushana pointed to a spot on the map. We plan to attack these. We plan to conquer the humans and expand our territory into their space. We've heard they don't maintain a large fleet and are reluctant to fight. They'll probably try to negotiate their way out, the Grand Stratego explained. Gazalek stared at them in shock. You mean you're planning to attack the humans? He emphasized the name to make sure he was understood. Yes, in 2 standard months, the Grand Stratego confirmed. Gazalek took a moment to compose himself before saying, no one in their right mind would attack the humans. The Grand Stratego and Shag Kushana then left the room. Gazalek muttered to himself, why would you think that? They barely have a dozen systems. We control thousands. How could a race that's afraid of war pose a threat to us? Unintentionally, his words were overheard. Who are these Tokazians? How can we get in touch with them? One of the Kudraks asked. Gazalek thought, you can't reach them. They're extinct in this sector. Only rumors remain, fleets of survivors drifting from place to place. And these humans are supposed to have beaten them. They might have defeated a minor power, but we're supposed to be scared of them. Grand Stratego and Shag Kushana sneered at his comments. Gazalek continued, over 80 galactic years ago, the Tarshians controlled most of this sector, he said, pointing to a spot on an imaginary map. They had 138 systems, 600 habitable planets and moons, and countless resources, including the dead rock we orbit now. He paused, noticing what seemed to be doubt on some of their faces, though he couldn't be sure. Grand Stratego and Shag Kushana showed no sign of concern. We are the Kudra and we fear no one, especially not a race that avoids war, even if they won a conflict decades ago. So continue with your reasons why we should avoid attacking them, the Empress said firmly. The Kudraks looked surprised that she spoke up. Your Majesty, this alien is not worthy of your words, Inubasa protested. Grand Stratego and Shag Kushana added, Your Majesty, please forgive me, but as Second Empress, your role is mainly ceremonial. The Empress fixed them with a sharp look. Usually, yes, but this matter is important enough that the Emperor should hear the entire explanation, not just selected parts. The Empress turned directly to the Grand Stratego. Would you like me to contact my husband, the Emperor, and explain why I'm breaking protocol, especially after I mention how you're ignoring the Theron's warning? Gazalek thought to himself, I like her style. Both Kudraks immediately yielded to the Empress and turned their attention back to Gazalek. Please continue, she commanded. Yes, Your Majesty, Gazalek said, bowing before he began. Humans are not afraid of war because of what their enemies might do. They fear what war could turn them into. He started, I had a human friend once who explained this to me. I, like you, thought they would be easy targets. They were new to the galactic community and had just begun expanding beyond their home system. When the Tekshans discovered how long it took them to leave their home system, almost 2 centuries, they thought the humans weren't very advanced. Gazalek paused to let his words sink in. I later learned from my friend that their slow progress was due to constant internal conflicts. The Empress spoke up again. So, they were engaged in a civil war for all that time. No, Your Majesty, Gazalek clarified. They were never unified under a single government. They only formed one after they discovered other races. A damaged ship from another race accidentally exited faster than light travel in their system. The crew was dead, but the ship's remains provided the only source of information. They studied the ship and reverse-engineered its technology, combining it with their own. Gazalek continued, humans had long dreamed of finding life beyond their world. When they finally met other races, they were thrilled. They explored, traded, and shared knowledge eagerly. But they were taken completely by surprise when a Tachyon fleet attacked their home system without warning. The humans suffered severe losses at first, but they were far from helpless. They had spent nearly their entire history fighting amongst themselves and were very skilled at it. Though they were inexperienced with deep space combat, they eventually pushed the Tachyons out after months of fierce fighting, at a high cost for both sides. Galactic took a breath. I've heard rumors that the Tachyon survivors were deeply shaken by their later encounters with humans, particularly on the ground. As a final act of defiance, the Tachyons launched a missile containing a biological weapon at Earth, the humans' home planet. My friend told me it triggered an ecological disaster. Vast areas of their planet became barren. The biological agents didn't work as the Tachyons had hoped. Humans have a long history of battling deadly diseases, which helped them resist the biological attack. It made them ill, but only the weakest fell victim. Galactic continued. Unfortunately for the Tachyons, this included a large number of their youngest children. He went on. My friend said that while the initial invasion could have been forgiven, humans were used to such conflicts internally, they couldn't overlook the devastation of their world. They might have responded with a punitive strike against the Tachyons, something that would have caused equivalent damage, but killing millions of their children enraged them. Most races have a few words for revenge. Humans have dozens, and none of them are gentle. Galactic listed vendetta, revenge, reckoning, retribution, reprisals, retaliation, vengeance, eye for an eye, vindictive, and more. The Tachyons' actions brought upon them one of the most fearsome types of revenge. Humans call it blood vengeance. What the Tachyons did could only be answered with their blood, and a lot of it. He added, my friend once told me that humans have a dark side they struggle to control. When it breaks free in an individual, it can cause immense destruction. But when this darkness spreads across an entire race, it can unleash horrors beyond imagination. He showed me their history, and I thought I had seen everything. I was wrong. The atrocities they committed against each other were the worst I've ever seen. Now, imagine what they would do to an alien race. And this act brought out the very worst in them, Galactic said. It was as if they went mad with grief. They combined captured Tachyon technology with their own. Their new warships were as black as night, with wings that made them look like terrifying birds of prey. Their armor was jet black, and their helmets were designed to look monstrous, not just from the humans' nightmares, but from the Tachyons as well. They called this psychological warfare. Galactic shuddered at the thought. They attacked their enemies' minds, not with psychic powers, but by making their deepest fears come to life. This is what terrified the Tachyon survivors so much that they couldn't understand how humans waged war. Humans would strike unexpectedly, using tricks, deception, and psychological warfare. They were like phantoms, always hitting where the Tachyons least expected and then vanishing before anyone could respond. But things changed. When the humans' fleets emerged from their territories, they didn't sneak around. They charged in like roaring Ganarach beasts, announcing their presence with devastating force. They left nothing untouched. Military bases, civilian areas, and even abandoned facilities were obliterated. The Tachyons who stayed were either incinerated by nuclear fire or suffocated by the dust from asteroids hurled at their colonies. The humans wanted no trace of the Tachyons left behind. They didn't bother to garrison the worlds they took. They destroyed everything Tachyon and moved on. This approach made it nearly impossible for the Tachyons to predict where the humans would strike next. The Tachyons would scramble to smoldering ruins, only to find no humans there. Sometimes the humans would ambush Tachyon ships that came to these dead worlds, leaving the wreckage to orbit as a grim reminder. The humans saved the Tachyon homeworld for last. After 5 years of relentless war, they surrounded the planet and prepared for the final assault. Galactic concluded. What happened to the Tachyon homeworld? The Empress asked. Galactic pointed out a window and said, look for yourself, we're orbiting it. The humans renamed it after the war ended. Once their vengeance was fulfilled and their children avenged, they pulled back from their frenzy. They had a word for what they had done, genocide. It was a dark chapter from their history that fueled their hatred for those who committed similar acts. Now their entire race bore the stain of that crime. They withdrew, keeping only the systems they currently hold. Before leaving, they renamed the Tachyon homeworld Miasma and declared it a monument, a reminder of what happens to those who attack them. Galactic added, no one wanted to provoke the humans, so everyone agreed. A reminder of what? The Empress asked. Of what they'll do to anyone else who dares to attack them. Galactic replied. They wanted everyone to remember the cost of crossing them. This wasn't just about the Tachyons. It was a message for anyone who might think of challenging them. Miasma was derived from one of their earliest myths, Galactic explained. It represents a profound collective guilt that stains their entire race, affecting even those alive today. The darkness they allowed to run free resulted in horrors so great that they feel it can never be forgiven. Only 8 and 4. Each year, they commemorate the fall of the Tachyon homeworld, not with celebration, but with solemn reminders of their actions. Their reluctance to go to war is not just about self-preservation. It's about protecting others from the potential horrors they could unleash. Galactic finished his explanation. He could see that only the Empress fully grasped his message. The others remained unconvinced, with Grand Stratego and Shag Kushana still believing their military might was unbeatable. As he sat in his favorite chair, Galactic reflected on the past 3 years. He had tried to warn the Kudrates that attacking the humans was a grave mistake, and that targeting their children was even worse. Now, they were losing the war severely. Out of the original 138 systems, only 21 remained under their control. Many had been lost to the humans, while 57 systems had seceded to form their own empire and ally with the humans. This new empire was led by a cunning empress who had heeded Galactic's advice and went a step further after her husband's misguided decision to attack the humans. After Grand Stratego and Shag Kushana's brutal attacks on civilian colonies, the Empress made a strategic move. She proposed a solution that allowed the humans to exact their revenge while avoiding the previous errors. She offered to separate from the Empire, taking as many systems as possible with her, and to ally with the humans. Kudrake's civilians would find refuge in her new empire, and her forces would assist in evacuating those who surrendered, including military personnel. In return, the humans could continue their assault on her former husband's empire. She also promised to surrender any officers responsible for the atrocities against human colonies for trial. Galactic looked forward to seeing Grand Stratego and Shag Kushana held accountable for their actions. Author's note: I hope you enjoyed the story. Thanks for watching. If today's journey into the mind of humanity left you with more questions than answers, you're not alone. Humans' complex relationship with war is a deep and unsettling topic, but one that reveals so much about their resilience and fears. What do you think? Are humans truly as afraid of war as they seem, or is there another layer to their fear? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next deep dive into the mysteries of the galaxy. Until next time, keep exploring the unknown with SciFi Humanity.